There it is. All right, we're back. Episode 97 of the Morse Code podcast. Back again is good, close personal friend Justin Lang, one half of the How Can This Be podcast. What's up, Justin? How are you, my friend?
I'm good, guys. How are you? Thanks for having me back. I'm glad I did an okay enough job last time for you guys to want me to come back on, you know?
It is our pleasure.
It was a discussion that we had to have.
Yeah, it was. It was a discussion, lengthy one at that.
Yeah.
But here we are. So tonight is the evening of March 25th. Is it 25th or 26th?
25th.
25th.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It is, I guess at this point, we're past the NBA trade deadline.
Yep.
There's still probably some stuff floating out there with buyouts and free agencies, and I don't know. I feel like trades always still happen after the deadline anyway. Some like sign-in trades or buyouts and buy-ins and bullshit like that. But
yeah,
let's start there. Which typically a very exciting day in the world of sports. I guess today was no different, depending who you root for, who you look at. But I don't know where we want to start. I'd rather start more like in general. I know the three of us were kind of talking either offline or through Twitter about some stuff the last couple of days. I'll start here with Justin. Like, what were your, not even like as a Celtics fan, just like as a basketball, because we'll talk about the Celtics later. But just like a basketball fan, what were kind of your expectations or hopes going into today? Like, what were some big names you were looking forward to potentially seeing move?
Well, I was surprised. I was surprised that Lowry didn't get moved, because that was kind of the big one.
He's probably the biggest name, I think.
Yeah,
today,
because he had the whole thing last night with he got the FaceTime from Drake while he was doing his post-game press conference. He was, crying and whatnot. Like gave the fans of Toronto the peace out sign to the camera. So it was pretty much all over, but the fat lady singing more or less, and the fat lady decided not to sing, so he's going back to Tampa Bay for the rest of the season.
I keep forgetting they play in Tampa Bay this whole time. That's so
weird.
We should also be sure to announce or let people know we are very pro fat women singing.
Please,
absolutely.
The fatter the better.
Community, please
keep singing.
We are on your side.
Yeah, keep
fight
singing,
the good fight.
baby.
I wonder where that phrase came from. Either of you guys know?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I bet it has a really cool story to it.
A burly woman was singing when she shouldn't have been. But maybe I got an idea. Maybe someone was like singing to signify the end of a war.
It definitely has something to do with a war. Most old like phrases like that have something to do with a war or.
Did Hitler have a fat wife?
Hitler? Is that what you said? I don't know. I always assumed Hitler was single. No.
Oh, he was married.
He had a girl. Eva Braun.
I didn't picture him as a family man.
He also
definitely not a family man.
Yeah.
You guys have obviously heard the stories about how he could allegedly still be alive.
Boy, it's just taking a turn. I haven't heard that. No.
Maybe not still, but like
he well over. He didn't die when people thought he died.
Yeah, exactly. That he was hiding out in like a bunker or something. Because was there ever confirmation that like was his body ever found or anything like that?
So the Soviets found him, so that's why there was that speculation. So because the Soviets and the Americans right after World War II turned into the Cold War pretty much. And I don't think they ever really confirmed that it was, Hitler's body. I think the Soviets just kind of discarded him more or less. Sure. So I think that's where the questions rise from,
Yeah. I never really thought
throw
about
that in the show notes.
Yeah, please. I don't know. That wasn't like a nationally televised like service like some celebrities have nowadays.
Like Princess Diana.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Elton John wasn't singing "Candle in the Wind" for Hitler.
Is that right?
Or I was gonna say, like, you guys have probably seen the post circulated by Tyler, where John Cena announced that Osama bin Laden had been caught on WWE. Like they like
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah,
I've
they
never
took like a
seen that.
timeout, and he announced it, And then
like Monday Night
obviously
Raw?
the crowd erupted. It was either Raw or SmackDown, something like that. But he took a timeout to announce that.
Wow, breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's a great question. Like, if you like when a mutually hated person dies, like who would you want to hear the news from? Like in like a public platform. If you like mix it up between Osama bin Laden dying and John Cena announcing it, that's about as good as it gets. I can't think of a better. It'd be even better if it was like in the middle of a match, like because like I know we've before, like you've been on, Justin. This podcast used to be pretty heavy wrestling, and we've talked about rumors out there that wrestling is fake. Some believe it or not, but it'd be funny if he was in the middle of a match. And like the producers just like, listen, like we got to stay ahead of the story. Like either we can on the fly write a storyline or just say fuck it and like stop the match, give John Cena a mic and tell him the news. Because I can't imagine many people more excited about that news than John Cena.
Yeah. Like just have him climb the turnbuckle and toss him the mic like Stone Cold with the Coors Lights.
Just announce it, drop it, and then dun 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 dun.
I would say Chappelle announcing someone would be pretty funny, like in the middle of a comedic set.
Good point. He would make it like hilarious. Like that would be funny. It reminds me of like one of the all-time great. I don't know if you consider this a meme or not, but like that guy. At like his hater's funeral, like just to make sure he was dead.
Oh yeah.
Hashtag RIP Bozo is one of the best hashtags of all time. Anytime like a bad guy it circulated a lot with Rush Limbaugh, I'm pretty sure. I think he's probably the last well-known like bad guy to die. Just RIP Bozo is so good. Bozo is a great word in general. Like it's a derogatory word towards like someone you dislike.
What's the caption of it again? Just checking to make sure.
I went to like one of my biggest haters' funerals just to make sure that guy was dead.
That's such a good meme.
But then one of the best parts is in the hashtags. One of them just RIP Bozo. Which is awesome. Like, I don't use Bozo very often. Like using it when, like I said, a mutually disliked person dies is excellent. I'm trying to think like, and again, this all started talking about NBA trade deadline. But I'm trying to think, like who the next candidate for like the biggest bozo to go. I have some thoughts on some,
I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
That one's gonna
I think we're all on the same page with one guy. Yeah.
That one being announced by Chappelle would be all-timer.
That's going to be a heavily sought after announcement. Like who gets to break the news? My biggest fear, well, not fear, because I couldn't care less at this point, but it's probably going to be so far down the road. Hopefully it's irrelevant at that time, but that'll be a good one. And then also like this has become popularized too. And this was again big when Rush Limbaugh died, like smoking that fill in the blank pack, like when someone dies. And then it's just a gif of LeBron with the cigar, like at the Lakers celebration. Those are always so good. I love it. I just love when bad people die. Like it makes for great content.
Rush Limbaugh. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, right?
Is Don Sterling, speaking of nice guys, is Don Sterling dead?
No. Oh, no, he's still very much alive.
He's up there. That'll be a good one, I think. And on NBA Twitter, that'll be a big one. Big RIP Bozo.
I think the hatred coursing through his veins, like, is what keeps him alive.
Yeah.
Keeps his heart pumping.
He's so racist. He's determined to outlive any and all non-white people. So that's like the only thing keeping him pumping. That was a dark time.
Did you guys hear that that podcast series about that? The Donald Sterling?
No, I think I heard of it.
Whatever. It was actually pretty good.
I'm waiting for like a video document, like a 30 for 30 or something on it. That would be quite good. I don't know if ESPN would do it. ESPN's kind of they're weird, like with what they will and won't do as far as like documentaries. Like you can tell there's some things they don't want to touch. Like they have every opportunity to do it. Soapy and I talk about this all the time. I'm sure you'd agree. They have every opportunity to do a Malice in the Palace 30 for 30, and it would be phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy numbers. But I think the fact that it was on ESPN, the game, and it was like such an ugly event, like Soapy and I have talked about, I just don't think they're going to touch it. If they wanted to, they would have done it by now. Unless we wait for like the 20th anniversary or something, whenever that is. But that would be a good one.
Does Ron Artest have the rights like Jordan did with the 98?
I don't know.
Film?
Like, yeah,
it's just going to be him just saying that he took things personally.
Yeah. That would be must watch. But then again, like they've done one on Lance Armstrong, controversial guy. Oscar Pistorius, controversial guy. Jesus OJ, Christ. They did like a 20-part documentary on, which is actually pretty good. So I don't know. That's one. Don Sterling would be a good one. I can see that more of like a Vice documentary or something, which they'd probably do a better job with anyway. Anyway, so this went from NBA trade deadline to the fat lady singing, and I did find something, and this is just like, I don't feel like diving into it too much, but you know, like when you Google something now, you'll get like a brief outline of the answer followed by the site below. I don't feel like moving far past the brief outline, but this timeline kind of threw me for a loop. Dan Cook, the correct expression is that the opera ain't over till the fat lady sings, which I would assume like classic opera, the final note is a heavier woman singing. It is said that this expression was first used by sports writer Dan Cook, writing for the San Antonio News-Express, Texas, around the year 1976. No way. It's definitely older than 1976.
Yeah, there's no way. That seems way bogus. Too recent. And that was like 45 years ago. So it's like not this that was recent, but it still feels way too recent.
This was like during at least like Babe Ruth era, like sports.
Yeah.
Don't you also think that there needs to be a specific instance of it happening at the opera for him to be like, well, let me use this saying in my fucking sports writing now.
Yeah.
You're not a big 70s, you're not a big 70s opera guy.
I mean,
Southwestern
I'm just
70s
wondering what
opera.
happened to jog his memory to be like, I think I should use this.
When was the heyday of the opera? Was that like the 20s? Was that the heyday of the opera? That feels like,
I feel like it would have to be. I would say earlier. I think.
What do you mean by was?
I would say it has to be.
We're still in the heyday.
Before like film really took off, so it has to be at least prior to like 1920. I'm thinking like 1800. When I think opera, I think like 1800s.
All right. Yeah, that's so like right up until the First World War, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely something to do with the war. You were right. Like, I don't know. I don't know where the source is from. Like I said, I didn't bother to dive too into it. So anyway, so back to Kyle Lowry and not moving the trade deadline. Yeah, that was probably the biggest name today that would have moved but didn't. I'm trying to think what actually was the biggest name that moved. Oladipo moved.
Yep. Which
pull it up right here.
Did you guys see it was now the ultimate return of what the Rockets got for James Harden. Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, who's the guy from the Nets? He's got a bunch of the Latvian guy. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. His initials are RK. I forget, but
you went to Houston.
Yeah, that.
Oh boy.
Well, he got traded in the original Harden deal, so they turned.
I don't remember the original Harden deal anymore.
I'm gonna have to find this because this is
who left Houston. I mean, who left? Well, Brooklyn lost obviously. Jared Allen, LeVert, and I think that was it, right? Besides
it was, and they it was Rodion's Kurix. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Probably.
So they got Bradley, Olynyk, Dante Exum, Rodion's Kurix, and a few late first round picks. That's what they turned James Harden into.
I didn't see coming out of wherever the hell he came from. I didn't see Dante Exum turning into one of these guys, like just another name thrown into these trade deals. I think I had higher hopes than most. Yeah, for Dante Exum. What a sad story.
Yeah, he was one of those international guys that didn't make it coming out of Australia.
Yeah.
And now he's just a throw-in piece. Like he was supposed to be this. He's like what 6'6", big point guard. Like supposed to be really good and just never amounted to anything.
That's a hilarious thing to end up with though. Post James, like what's that saying? It's like squeezing blood out of a rock, or squeezing a rock till you got blood. I think this is
not easy to do.
I think you had blood and then they ended up with a rock.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure where the hell this team goes now.
Who? I think
or Houston?
The Rockets.
Oh, they're done. I would honest to God consider like having a sit down with Adam Silver about like forfeiting the season. Like it is not worth anyone in that organization to continue playing basketball in 2021. It's so sad for the fans too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just shocked that they were somehow able to fleece the Thunder for James Harden and then get fleeced themselves getting rid of James Harden. Yeah. Like, it's an incredible anomaly how that happened, you know?
It is. I don't remember like going way back. What was the original? Was Harden a trade or was a free agent?
No, he was trade. Yeah. So they traded him right after that finals appearance against.
Right. I knew that. So who was like the big name that went to OKC?
I think it was Kevin Martin and Jeremy Lamb. And then I think they got one first round pick. And back then, everybody thought that was a terrible return. And then it got progressively worse as the years went on, you know?
Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
And that was Kevin the beginning Martin's of them like amassing picks too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys see that stat that came out today? They have like 35 picks in the next that's mind boggling to me.
Danny Ainge probably came himself seeing that tweet.
Literally gonna say that's Danny Ainge's wet dream. Having all these picks when you work in a sport where your job is to build a 12-man roster, just like too many picks is the ultimate like good problem to have.
Let me draft 3 teams.
They'll still fumble that bad. Like OKC is probably they're one of the worst teams in the league to have that luxury because like they're a small market where, or maybe they're one of the best actually, because they're a small market where nobody wants to go willingly. So you have to draft people to come play at the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is crazy because to your point, Justin, like at a time they had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, not even from like a talent perspective, but like Kevin Durant is like the poster child for like recruiting players and like super teams. Westbrook, like they're right. In other words, like they're never going to touch a player unless, of course, they draft him. Who comes close to like a career accolades of those 3 guys? It's so silly. So crazy.
What do you do with
that'd be a 30
picks?
for 30 right there?
Oh yeah.
The Oklahoma City Thunder 30 for 30. Like crazy. And what do you do with all those picks? I have no idea. I assume you have to use them as again, going back to Danny Ainge's wet dream, use them as leverage and do something with them. You can't draft 35 players in 7 years. It's impossible. So like good point. What do you do? Like if you can't get rid of them, what do you like literally what do you do? You can't field all these players.
I did see a good tweet that was like, yeah, what do you do? Because the problem is that as much as you might want to use some of those, or could use some of those
like 10.
Right.
10 picks.
But the problem though is that like when other teams know that you have 35 picks, they're going to be like, no, we're not doing this because we know that you're desperate to get rid of those.
100%. Yeah. You didn't think it through. I've made a terrible
Never thought
mistake.
of it like that. Jeez. I mean, they might. I'm sure they'll use some of them to try to like move up in drafts. Like,
yeah, good point. I guess, but it's like, hold on. It's like they're already bad enough team where they're probably going to get good draft position organically for I'd say the next at least 5 years.
Yeah.
So are they just going to draft all the players? Like, is 2023 like you're just going? I'm curious to see like the 2024 NBA draft. Where a stat comes out, it's like if you're playing in college, you have like a 28% chance that you're going to get drafted by the Thunder because you're going to do the lottery. Thunder are definitely going to be a lottery pick at the minimum for the next 5 years. Yeah, and then you just have everyone else's pick. So I don't know. You have to just either literally fire your entire team. They might be the first team to literally start over, like fire everyone and just draft a new team. They're going to somehow like naturally turn into an expansion team. What they've done in the draft for the second time. Like, it's just crazy.
That's the problem is that their only 2 options are if we don't stink, like then these picks are even more worthless.
Yeah.
In order to make them worth anything, we're just going to have to stink for a while.
Which shouldn't be a problem.
Which shouldn't be a problem. But that sucks that those are your two realities and your two options.
Yep.
What's problematic?
And they have 35 draft picks.
What's problematic with that strategy, though, is they're all like young guys that play super hard and actually really try. So they're not like throwing together this disaster of a team like the Sixers were 6 years ago, you know?
Right.
7 years ago, whatever the hell the timeline is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Like got to keep Shea around. And then other than that, it's like, I mean,
who cares? Yeah,
whatever.
Everyone can go. I agree. And the other aspect of this is for a small market team, they have a great fan base. Like they fucking love the Thunder out there. I don't know why, but they do. Like Soapy and I have talked about this before, as far as like home court advantages go. Back when it was like KD and Russ and they were contenders every year, Thunder playoff games were bonkers. Like those were so fun to watch. Like when they would do whiteouts, and we joked before, they were the team that used to stand up until they would make a basket. And like the worse they got, the more awkward that the opposing team goes like a 9-0 run to start the game. But yeah, so that was that. So Oladipo went to the Heat. Lowry stayed put. Who's besides the Celtics? Who went to Portland? Norman Powell went to Portland. Interesting.
Yeah. The Raptors cleared a bunch of like roster slots out preparing to trade Lowry, and then they didn't move Lowry.
Good point. And I honestly feel like that's how a lot of it went. I feel like, I guess we can talk about the Celtics now. I think regardless of how you feel about Evan Fournier and Mo Wagner, and I think they got some, I just saw recently, they got some other dude who came through over as well, right?
Yeah, Cornette.
But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I think he went to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I'm more excited.
Cornette.
Yeah. I'm more excited anything of more of like an addition by subtraction thing. I mean, we lost Jeff Teague. We lost Javonte Green. If it was, and I know this isn't what it ultimately came down to, but at it, there was a point in time where it was pretty much straight up Daniel Tice for Mo Wagner. Like, could you trade two more similar players for the most part? Like similar backgrounds, similar looking, for the most part, similar stats. I was just like, what the fuck are we doing? And then it came out that Teague and like the other guys went, but I don't know. I mean, in hindsight, getting Evan Fournier for two second rounders is great.
Yeah.
I don't think it equals Banner 18 or an Eastern Conference playoff appearance or anything like that. So I don't know, but so I'm going to let it go real quick. I'm going to pass it over to you.
Yeah. Justin, your thoughts sound like you had something to say.
Yeah, I mean, like I like that they got off Teague. I mean, he was just not doing up until this past week. He hasn't done anything in months. Like he had two good games in like the past week. I mean, you know, he's an NBA basketball player. So I'm not going to say he stinks, but like, you know, he's just not a good fit and is obviously a shell of his former self. So nice to get off that deal. I'm surprised they didn't move a couple more guys off the back half of the roster just to like, you know, churn and burn the bottom part. I know they got Javonte out of there. You know, I was kind of hoping they would move Thompson as opposed to Tice, just because I think Tice is more versatile than Thompson is. But like, I don't know. I mean, I like that they did something because they never do anything and they needed to do something, whatever it is. And I'm glad they did something. They got another option. Fournier's playing pretty well this year, shooting like almost 40% from three. He's averaging 19 a game, something like that. Like he's having a decent season, you know? I mean, it's better than running Quadzilla Carson Edwards out there, you know? Like,
dude, that's the strongest thing he's got going for him is those big ass quads, and I think he's got them tatted up too.
Oh yeah, big tats. And like I thought he would amount to something because he could really heat up and score it in college. I know he's got years left, and that's probably why they weren't able to move him in any of these deals. But like he's just kind of taking up a roster spot, and he's not really figuring it out. You know, like I don't know, man.
Did you notice in that game? No, go ahead.
No, that's all I got. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, did you notice in that game against the Cavs in Cleveland where another stupid game that the Celtics should have won against a 15-25 team at the time. Not only did they lose it, they were out of the game for most of the game. And they were so desperate to try to get some spark plug that they brought in Carson Edwards in the second quarter because they were like, this is the one arena where he's had a playable NBA game. Granted, it was a preseason, but it was that preseason game in last season, which is like 2 years ago now at this point. Yeah. And he had whatever it was, 6 or 8 threes, something like that. Because I remember when they put him in the game, I was like, yeah, I think this is when I tap out. I'm gonna watch fucking Lifetime or something like that because like that's the white flag. Last night? No, a couple weeks ago when Brad Stevens put in Carson Edwards in Cleveland because it was the one place where he's had a good game in the preseason, and they needed some sort of spark plug. They still get their fucking asses handed to them that game.
Oh, I know.
But I guess my biggest takeaway, I wish that Tristan Thompson had gotten moved because it's never a good sign when players are going back and forth with the media via Twitter. Like, that's a slippery slope. I hated when I saw that because I was like, and I'm not against those guys speaking out. It just means that you're in a messy situation. Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker coming out and defending Tristan Thompson. And it's just like, if you guys want to defend him, so be it. But when you have a situation like that where there's drama and these guys are using their social media to like dispute reporters' claim from like two pretty reputable guys and Kevin O'Connor and I think Chris Vernon. It's like, I don't know what story to believe. I just know that this looks like there's no leadership in that locker room because then they interviewed Brad Stevens on Zoe and Beetle and they asked him about Tristan Thompson. He's like, yeah, there's no truth to that. And I don't think he's broken any protocols. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean you don't think? Like, do you not know?
That also means he has. Yeah. Because if he didn't, you would say, no, I understand what's going on with my team. We haven't. I was just like, he would have said, we haven't broken protocol. I wasn't surprised by that at all. Tristan Thompson, hearing that he's like, whatever, not 100% complying with protocol. No shit. I was not surprised by that at all.
He cheats on his pregnant significant other. So I think he breaks the rules when it comes to COVID protocol.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's used to being Tristan Thompson Kardashian. And now they shipped him out to Boston and they said, you can't leave your house. I'm not surprised at all by that. And again, it's like he hasn't done enough on the court to justify, like, put it this way. How quiet has like the James Harden off the court stuff been? I don't know what he's doing in Brooklyn. I'm sure he's not sitting in his apartment by himself. I'm sure he's still flying Instagram models out to New York. They have Wi-Fi there. He can still connect with them. But James Harden's an MVP candidate. No one really seems to care. Tristan Thompson, I don't have time. Like I said earlier, he's almost, and I think we touched on this when you were on the last time, Justin, he's almost in like my N'Keal Harry category. Like he can go. Like he needs to be part of any deal whatsoever. Like as an asterisk, put him in. You know,
salary filler.
Yeah, more minutes for Robert Williams. Fucking more Mo Wagner, I guess. I really don't care at this point, but
I hope they don't play him. I hope they don't have to play him. He's not very good, I don't think.
I said earlier, I remember him. I haven't really seen him much since Michigan. He was fun to watch that year at Michigan. My other question, was he coming from Chicago or Washington? Every picture I see, he's in a Wizards jersey.
I think he got rerouted
twice today, I think.
Yeah, he went Washington to Chicago with Troy Brown, and then he went Chicago to Boston, and then they just turned it into a 3-team deal.
Okay. That's always good. That's always a fun day for an adult.
I wasn't expecting Troy Brown to get moved today.
Me neither. Someone who can play offense and defense and special teams and Patriots Hall of Famer Troy Brown. I did not see that happening. But
won a couple Super Bowls.
They got a good one. Yeah, multiple handful of rings. But I don't know. I mean, as far as like the Celtics day goes, I don't know. Again, I don't know what you guys touched on while I was gone for a minute, but I didn't have high hopes today anyway. I mean, like Soapy and I have talked about this before. There's nothing they could have done today that would have made me feel like, okay, this is a serious team, at least this year. And that's why I don't care. Like I think I posted something earlier, like the Eastern Conference. There's 2 Eastern Conferences. The top 3, Brooklyn, Philly, and Milwaukee, are in their own league, and then it's everyone else. It's just a bunch of mediocre teams who are all within like 3 games of each other, who are just going to flip-flop around the 4 through, I guess, 10 seeds if you count like the playoff play-in rule this year.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like the Celtics ceiling is the same as everyone else's ceiling, 4 or 5 seed. No one who's not in the top 3 is going to crack the top 3 right now. The only team that I think maybe made tangible upgrades is maybe Miami. I think Oladipo is a good signing if he's even playing. And then it sounds like they're in the running for Aldridge too, which I think can help. Maybe them, but again, that's a stretch. So, like I said, 4 or 5 seed, they can probably, if they get the 4 seed, I think they can win a series at home. And then they would have to get lucky to win the next round, but they're not beating 2 of those 3 teams in the Eastern Conference, no matter what they did today. I think Evan Fournier helps. I mean, he's an option, I guess, a scoring option outside of Marcus Smart in the 4th quarter. I guess I think you touched on this before I had to let Ellie out. I hope to God we don't have to keep drawing up last shot plays for Daniel Tice or Daniel Tice's equivalent at this point, whatever the fuck that is. So I don't know. I also told myself this. I think I'm going to treat today as like a hard reset. I don't know what tomorrow's going to look. I assume these guys aren't playing tomorrow against Milwaukee.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the COVID protocols work. I know like every other year, I'm sure they'd just be in uniform ready to roll tomorrow night, you know?
Well, disregard, they're going to lose tomorrow either way. I'm going to do like a hard reset on the season and just like consider this like the second half of the season. See how they look. If Fournier can free up some space and get some shots off, that's great, but is what it is. I mean, I was saying to Soapy while you were gone, I'm just glad they shook something up because they needed to change something.
I said the same churn thing. A little bit, because they're only a game and a half out of 4th place.
That's what I'm saying. Right, it's like 4 through 8 it can all change within like 2 games, which is kind of crazy. Which also means it's totally irrelevant, especially if we're not at full capacity, home court advantage. I'm sure we won't be. Who gives a shit? Like I genuinely don't care if they're a 4 or an 8 seed. If they get to the playoffs, at least is something to like look forward to and see what they can do, because somehow they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals like every year. And going into the playoffs, that's very rarely what I think is going to happen. And it always does. It still drives me nuts, but it's still bonkers to me that they were in a game 7 with the Cavs like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. Like saying that out loud just sounds so great. Not a game 7 they could have won. Like they had a lead in that game that they could have won, which is crazy. That was Kyrie year 1 when he was out, right?
Yeah, that was.
That was scary.
Rozier was running the point. Yeah.
I remember game 2. It was in Boston, and I had tickets to the Red Sox. And like the whole night, my main goal was just to flip those tickets to try and go see the Celtics, and we couldn't. And I was like, whatever. Like this has like 30-point loss written all over it. Like game 1 was lucky. When they won that game to go up 2-0, that's when it was like, holy shit, like this might actually happen. But the other part of that equation, that was when LeBron James would go to the finals no matter what for like 10 years in a row. Yeah. So it truly didn't matter. But just like for perspective, that's crazy how this team can be once they get in the playoffs. So yeah. And again, the other thing is we talked on Twitter today, like there's a segment of Celtics fans where no matter what happens, like they're still the best team in the world. They're going to sweep whoever it is they play. And again, I hope that happens. I consider myself a diehard Celtics fan, but like I said, I also live on Earth. Like I'm also a realist. The roster just isn't set up to do that. And not even like from a talent thing. This just isn't a fun roster to watch. Like they're just not enjoyable. Like watching the game last night, watching that comeback was kind of fun, but I was like, they're not going to win this game. And at the same time, I'm watching players who I'm not interested in play. Like this is not an enjoyable use of like 2.5 hours.
Jeff Teague has had a pretty fun week or a week and a half. So I'm not sure what team you're watching, but I've had some fun.
Did you guys see? I think I saw Evan Fournier is going to wear number 94. Did you see that?
That sounds awesome. About right.
That's I love that. Wild. I love seeing. I think it's just so weird to see players in like weird numbers. Even Jeff Teague wearing 55 is. I think anything over like 40 is weird. Like there's some good players in the 40s, maybe even the 50s. I guess. Trying to think.
I love 55 ended up matching his game pretty well. Just
ugly. Like a 55-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Well, Jay Crowder wears Does Jay Crowder still wear 99?
I think so.
Forgot about that.
That's a good one. 99 and like 00 are different. Like those are pretty cool. Anything in between looks weird.
I
remember Greg Oden was 52. That was a good one. That's more relevant. Greg Oden looked and played like a 52-year-old.
I still feel bad for Jay Crowder because it was him. Well, he felt the maddest about the Celtics giving up
trade, right?
No, he was mad about the Celtics giving up the secrets of how to defend the Warriors when they visited Durant in the Hamptons.
Pitch.
Yeah.
What a comical event that was. I don't know if we've talked to you about that, Justin, but that was a great day. It was 4th of July, whenever that was, like 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was fun as a Celtics fan because it was like KD's leaving and like the pool of potential teams got smaller and smaller. And it's like,
and the Celtics stayed in it somehow.
That's what I mean.
Still
it's
in
like
the mix,
it's Boston. It's Boston, Golden State. Washington was always in it because he's from there or something. But it's like the Celtics are actually going on a sales pitch to Kevin Durant to get him to sign here. And then that infamous picture came out. And they sent the big guns. Kelly Olynyk. What was it? Kelly Olynyk, Marcus Smart, and Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Or Ortiz?
Tom Brady and Danny Ainge.
Oh, and Jay Crowder, obviously, right?
I couldn't
Crowder he was there. For some reason, he wasn't in the picture, but he was there because he was the one who was so butthurt about those giving up those secrets.
Why did they send Kelly Olynyk?
I assume they had him getting water and coffee for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then
maybe he's the pilot.
And then the next day it comes out. Yeah, I'm going to go play with Steph and Clay and Draymond. Yeah. I think that sounds like a better.
Yeah, I don't blame you, dude.
My time. Yeah, Kelly Olynyk and Marcus Smart seem like nice guys, but I'm gonna go win championships. I think and live in Silicon Valley and probably get rich. But anyway, it was nice meeting you guys. That was fun for a little bit, and then it was all downhill from there. But Jay Crowder was part of the Kyrie Irving trade, right? Or no? He went to the Cavs.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did. Yeah. Yeah, because he was defending Hayward when Hayward got hurt there.
Dude, he's bounced around since the Celtics. He went Cavs.
He really has, yeah.
He went Jazz.
Yeah.
Suns, Heat, Grizzlies. Not in that order, but he's been
right. He's on the Suns now, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like the NBA trade deadline is fine, but like bigger picture, nothing changed today. Like we said, the East is going to be what it is. One of those three teams is going to go to the finals. Probably the Nets. Even the West, it's like there's a little more parity out West, I guess. I don't know about you guys, but I don't see it being anyone besides Lakers, Clippers, maybe Denver. I don't know. I'm not buying into the Jazz. A Chris Paul led Suns team, no. Portland, maybe, I guess, if you believe Dame can carry that for 4 series instead of 3. But
yeah,
I just think it is what it is. Like at least to your point, Justin, they showed that they're willing to shake it up a little bit. If you consider fucking dumping Jeff Teague and Daniel, I think Daniel Tice is probably the biggest one. You know what I mean? I think Tice was one of their guys who was part of the playoff run last year. I like Marcus Smart, but I think if you moved Marcus Smart, obviously for something that made sense, that probably would have sent a real message, whether it's good or bad. But I don't know. And my biggest fear, I've said this before, my biggest fear is that it's going to be the 2020 Patriots. They're going to be good enough to be irrelevant in the draft and bad enough to be irrelevant in like the playoff picture. And they're going to be sitting with the 15th pick in the draft.
Yeah. Just that one spot right outside the lottery. Yeah, that'd be tough because they've picked Neesmith and Langford at 14 each of the last 2 years, and those guys are still TBA, MIA, whatever you want to call him. Langford's MIA.
Yeah,
Langford knows where he is.
I couldn't care less about Langford.
We don't know if he exists.
I haven't seen him. Neesmith, I haven't totally, lost hope on just because we haven't seen him enough.
Right.
But I'm curious what the actual, like all you see is like rumors and packages. I'm curious what certain packages were for guys like Aaron Gordon. It sounds like, Neesmith was wanted and they said no. So again, they might know something we don't. Who's been really disappointing is Peyton Pritchard too. He was so fun to watch like a month ago. He's kind of come back to earth a little bit. He's kind of playing like I expected him to play, but I think he's still playing more than Neesmith. No.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the backup point guard. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I'm not so quick to like give up on the young guys as some people are, because a lot of times like you'll figure it out in the second year if they start playing them like a lot more, and it's like, okay, so we're showcasing this guy that he knows he stinks, so that's why we're gonna kind of saddle him on down to the end of the bench next to Taco. Like, I mean, I put more stock in Neesmith than I do in Langford at this point, because I don't even know what Langford's doing. I know he's coming back from surgery. I know now he's out with health and safety protocols. Like, where the hell's he been?
COVID. He's been out. Yeah, is what I think that leads to.
You guys have seen the tweets about him from Coley, right? About how
not today. No, Langford? What did he tweet today?
So it wasn't today, but it was about how like last year they asked Langford how he felt about his first trade deadline, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't even know that there was one," or "I forgot I was in the NBA." So
that was great. I remember that.
He is like one of the highest guys in the league if you look at him, just perpetually
big time
on
agree.
Pluto. But a
real green teamer.
No one knows like what the hell he does well.
No,
I like that. That's a good joke.
Last year,
yeah,
or the year before.
Last year.
I confuse him and James Young all the time. James Young was 10 years ago, right?
Feels like
I don't know if he's alive. He's not in the league, is he?
No.
Can't
I don't
be.
think so.
Okay.
But Langford was in the same draft as Grant and Edwards and Taco, because they were all like boys running around hanging out,
Yeah. Talk about a hell of a class. My goodness.
Home
run to go from Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and then those four. Say what you want, but they can draft. They know how to scout talent. That's why I was kind of interested with some of the Lonzo rumors. I think it'd be funny if Lonzo came over and you had Lonzo and I always forget, was Lonzo the Tatum draft or the Brown draft? Tatum. Right? Fultz, Lonzo, and then Tatum. Yeah, that'd be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, we thought you sucked a couple years ago, so we were like, we're comfortable trading down to 3.
We knew the Lakers were going to take you, and we knew we weren't taking you at 1. So
anyway, here's your locker. You're going to really like it here. Everyone's really nice. We have Green Mountain coffee in the break room, and we're in Milwaukee tomorrow. I don't know, but Soapy, I know you put some notes in here. Were anything you wanted to touch on before we transition from the NBA draft? Trade deadline, rather?
Let's see.
There's some Marcus Smart stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, James Young is in Israel now.
Ooh, good for him.
Shalom.
Full circle.
Shabbat.
Started talking about is Hitler dead, and now we're talking about basketball in Israel. Go ahead, Soap.
So we'll only do.
And on a similar note, Miles Leonard was cut today too, by the Thunder.
Yeah, see ya. Adios, muchacho.
You might be recruiting on him soon, Justin.
Oh yeah.
I am looking for employment.
I don't know if he's into engineering at all, but
oh god,
polish up his LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, is this Myers? Christ.
May I call you Myers?
Yeah. Mr. Leonard. Christ.
Good. So
I'm just trying to think. I only want to do one of these. I'm trying to think which one. All right. I'll do the Tatum and Brown point. Like, as much as I like them, and obviously they're still going to get better, and it's too early to call whatever stage they're in now as like to judge them off that. But I do think it's pretty fair to be like the way that this offense runs. We got into a little tiff with Griff today.
Great segment idea, but go ahead.
Shout out to Griff. Griff did not like what you and I were saying on Twitter because we both just said that like the Fournier deal was whatever. Like we didn't care about it essentially. And Griff was saying, you know, if you get him on the team, he's a proven scorer. He can take some attention away from those guys. And he's someone that you can't leave because he's a pretty knockdown shooter, at least compared to the existing team or lineup, which is true.
Right.
But my grander like scheme of thinking is that like Tatum and Brown don't really play in a share the ball kind of offense. Like what they do is one of them's hot, so that one gets the ball. And then they take turns. So when the other one's hot, that one gets the ball. So there's never really a time where they need like a facilitator. They don't necessarily need another scorer. They need someone who's going to help them move the ball. Because it goes into this other thing that I heard Michael Hawley say last night, which was essentially that part of the reason that Celtics fans overrate Marcus Smart and part of the reason that he's detrimental to us sometimes is because he would be good on, obviously, he would be good on a title team. Like he would be a great fourth or fifth piece. But the Jays haven't progressed enough to a point where we can use Marcus Smart in the true, like the best version of himself. Instead, like he ends up handling the ball. Option. Yeah. Instead, he ends up handling the ball, which he's a fine passer, but then he ends up taking a lot of shots. And he knows that like if he passes one of those guys the ball, he's not going to get it back. So like he gets elevated to this status where he has to do more. And we know that when he has to do more, they look like shit most of the time. But yeah, I feel like it's on those guys they need to either be better sharing the ball or better moving the ball instead of just like being ISO all the time. I think Jalen's better at it than Tatum.
I do too.
And I think they both improved, but it's definitely not enough because like Holly was right. Like that's why Marcus Smart has to take on this fucking absurd responsibility. And then like more people pay attention to him. And then I think fans kind of enable what he does because they're like, oh, well, he's like, we can't live without his leadership and he's the stabilizing force. And it's like, well, no, he's only seen as that because the two guys that should be that are not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think too, I think, and I like Marcus Smart. I like his, I say this all the time. I like his intangibles, but you need to have some tangibles to back up being known for your untangibles. I think people want him to be like a Tony Allen, where it's just like your sole role is just play lockup defense and play really hard. And I'm not saying he's as good a defender as Tony Allen, but to your point, Soapy, I think I agree. Like he can't do that because A, everyone else is terrible, and B, he likes playing off. He'll have one.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of that's coaching too. I mean, Lang, you can probably speak to this. Like, isn't a big part of coaching like setting realistic expectations for like what your role should be? And like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like Marcus Smart might want to be the best. I'm not even Marcus Smart, just in general. Your third or fourth best player, I'm sure would love to be the number one go-to option, but isn't part of your coaching job like setting expectations of what our roles are and like how our offense works?
Yeah, you just, as most of the people listening to this probably don't know, I was a college basketball coach for 6 years. So a lot of it's like, you know, you got to figure out how the pieces fit together, you know? And I think the Fournier trade, he kind of fills that role that Hayward was playing last year, which I think will free some stuff up and get the ball moving a little bit more. And in terms of I think he fits that role probably maybe better than Hayward did in that he doesn't want to be a superstar like you know Hayward was in Utah, or superstar, whatever, a star, you know, the marquee guy on that you're featuring on the tickets and whatnot. And that's why he went to Charlotte, right? So like, I think putting that guy in there it will definitely help kind of, you know, open some things up a little bit. We'll give those guys a little more opportunity to create and get the ball moving a little bit more. And, you know, in terms of the Marcus Smart point, like, yeah, if you ask him to do too much on offense, that's not probably a good thing. You know, because he'll get hot once every 6-7 games, and he'll everybody be like, oh shit, that's what Marcus Smart can be on offense. It's like, I don't think you can rely on that night in and night out. But like, you know, if he's your fourth or fifth option on offense, that's like not a bad fourth or fifth option. There are much worse fourth and fifth options out there.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, I think, yeah, I know what you mean about the intangibles thing too. Like sometimes people look into that a little bit more than they should, but you know, I really like Marcus Smart. He's a tough dude. He kind of epitomizes the whole, like the Boston mentality, the tough blue collar salt of the earth thing. When you think of like, you know, long time Bostonian like history or whatnot, but yeah, you know, that's tough to rely on him for more than, you know, what he can do on a night in and night out basis, you know, very often.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, a lot of it comes down to, like, we talked about this earlier. I think it was, who was it who had that story? Someone had a story about like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have to start distributing more, even if it means like losing games. Who the fuck was that? You know what I'm talking about, Soapy? We talked about this.
Yeah.
Mike Gorman. It was Mike Gorman.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like, even that might mean losing games, but whatever. At the time, I was like, well, it might mean losing games. That's not great. But I get that theory. But on the other hand, and this is back when Marcus Smart was hurt, remembered, who are they going to defer to? Grant Williams in the corner? Like Kemba can't play. Kemba can only play every now and then. Daniel Tice in the corner? Jeff Teague? Like, yeah. You know, you get on Tatum for being ISO and like dribbling the hell out of the ball. From his point of view, just looking around the court, like, no, I'm not going to pass you the ball because it's probably not going to go in the basket.
That's
or
fair.
In Grant Williams' case, it's probably going to go through your legs and we're going to get it. So I don't know. There's still a lot to be worked out. I think, like, looking forward, I think the next, like, for a comparison, like when you look at the Patriots, the next clear move, a lot of people would say, is quarterback. I think for the Celtics, the next clear move to fill is a true distributor who can play. Like Kemba's fine, but he's not reliable. He's just as streaky as Marcus Smart. Plus, he can't play back-to-backs. That's one thing I'm looking forward to with Evan Fournier. I think he'll help fill a nice role on those back-to-backs when Kemba can't play. You know what I mean? That's just another body who can play guard technically. So
yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to dive too deep into it. I think overall, it's not like there were these huge names, or there weren't too many huge names looking to go anyway. Lowry stayed put. Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets is fucking whatever. I don't know. I'm probably never gonna watch them play. And then all this stuff for Boston, but I don't know.
I have one final basketball point.
Go ahead.
Really quick. And I think you guys might agree with this. I think my conclusion is that I think I'd prefer to, like, in an ideal world, to avoid this situation where a guy like Smart isn't relied on so much. I think what you need is more good players and less bad players. I don't know. You guys have a thought on that?
That's fair.
That's radical.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you always want to have more good players than bad ones, I think.
Yeah, I was workshopping this before we started recording, but I think that's the conclusion.
I don't know. There's something to just having bad players around the basketball at all times. There's something about it. I mean, it's not like
that. We don't know what it is.
No, but there's definitely something to that that I'm sure like some stat nerds could dive into. If
Nate
anything
Duncan,
else,
yeah.
I mean, that really is the problem, though. It sounds stupid to have a serious conversation about this, but
it is.
If the Celtics had better players, then their fringe players would be strictly fringe role
players. Yeah, agreed. Having bad players is fine as long as they're like the 9, 10, 11th player off the bench.
Yeah.
Your bad players are 5 through 15. Not great.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. I picture like a meeting, like Danny, Brad, I don't know, Wick, like whoever, just going over it and just being like the classic, like from a TV show, like they're sitting on the floor, like eating Chinese food, like their shirt collars like undone, looking at all these like general charts. Like, Brad just like flowing through his hair and just being like, wait a minute, guys, like I'm just going to throw this out there. Like and then taking his marker. What if we like eliminated the bad players and added good players like on a whiteboard? And then classic Danny Ainge, just like his chopsticks just like dropping out of his hand and being like run that back again. Like, Brad, go with this. Let him flowing. All right, hear me out. We get rid of Grant Williams and we sign Christian Durant. What if we go back in time and instead of bringing Kelly Olynyk on that sales pitch, we bring Tom Brady and David Ortiz and Larry Bird and see how that works out? He's on to something. Go with this, Brad. Keep flowing.
I'm picturing Danny in front of a board with like a bunch of cutouts and shit like Charlie Kelly and Always Sunny. Exactly. And he's like chain smoking. And he's like, who is this? Who's behind this conspiracy? What's going on here?
Pepe Sylvia.
Yeah, that's it.
Mac the man doesn't exist. Yeah, 100%. That's great. That'd be a great meme.
Danny sits back and he's like, and Brad, like, I think I'm following you here, but I don't want to like steal your thunder. It sounds like if we did this, you're thinking this leads to more wins, less losses. If I had to guess, it's
and then someone else with like one of those old school calculators that just spits out like one of those big long paper receipts, like typing in all this stuff, rips it out and like looks at it under a microscope. Oh my God, this stats say this is a 68 in whatever season.
Yeah.
There's a good chance we can go to the finals with this formula.
Yeah, someone's got like a CVS receipt.
And then someone else in the back taking notes, just like I gotta stop you guys. Like, are you guys fucking serious? Like, yes, this would make a lot of sense. You should have just done this from the beginning. It's like they do their final analytics printed out, and it's like, according to this, like all signs point to we should go for Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Al Horford, and Jaylen Brown, and we would have a quality looking roster. But
yeah.
Wait, last question. This is serious.
Mm-hmm.
If we had gotten Kevin Durant in 2016 and we had the exact same outcome where we win 2 out of 3 titles, and then he leaves, how much do you think Boston fans would hate him?
If he left like he left Golden State?
Yeah, in the exact same way. You think 2 titles is enough?
2 titles, I think, is enough.
I feel like he would still get booed, right? When he came back, or no?
Well, I mean, there was more to it than him just leaving. I mean,
right.
He also would I think a big part of it was he was beefing with the OG Warrior crew. You know? Yeah. Like I said this the other day, like when you look at like super teams, people are like, oh, like Cam Durant's been on 2 super teams. The Nets and the Warriors are 2 completely different scenarios. Like the Warriors were an organic. That's how a dynasty. That's how a good team should be built. You stink for a little bit. You put some effort into the draft and draft good players. Granted, I mean, I don't think they knew Steph, Clay, and Draymond were going to be at that level, but that was an organic, great team, literally best record ever. And then they signed Kevin Durant to just put him over the top. The Nets are like
so absurd.
The Nets are like made in like a laboratory. Like we're going to get Kyrie Irving, then we're going to get Kevin Durant. Then we're going to trade for James Harden. Then we're going to sign Blake Griffin. Then we're going to fucking probably sign Andre Drummond. Like that's a super team. Yeah. That's like if for like a Ninja Turtles reference, that's like Super Shredder from like Ninja Turtles 2, where he just got hammered off green ooze. Played by Kevin Nash, by the way. I don't know if everybody who's listening knows that.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yes, Kevin Nash. Big Sexy, as Sophie likes to call him, played Super Shredder in Ninja Turtles 2. That's the Brooklyn Nets. And I almost hope they pull like a Miami Heat and lose in the finals, or like a Lakers super team in 2004 and lose to like a equivalent of the Pistons. Actually, that Lakers team's probably a better example. Like you had Kobe and Shaq, and then you signed, granted they were probably washed up, but you signed Karl Malone and Gary Payton to come in and like play alongside you. What a time.
I don't know. I would still root for the Nets if they get to the finals versus the Lakers. I'm still rooting for the Nets,
know.
and I know that
against the Lakers, against the Lakers, I think I would. That would just be
anyone else. I would root for the other team, but if it's the Lakers, I'm rooting.
It's gonna be the Lakers. I don't see a scenario where it wouldn't. I don't have confidence in the Clippers. I don't have confidence in a Chris Paul-led Suns team, and I don't have confidence in a Rudy Gobert-led Utah Jazz team.
What about Aaron Gordon-led Nuggets team?
I was gonna say, Jokic and Aaron Gordon's a hell of a combo. Yeah, they lost some. Who did they lose? They must have lost somebody. I think Gary Harris,
who's a pretty good player.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Honestly, is Aaron Gordon much better than Gary Harris? Like, is that a stupid question?
He's different. He's like the same. He's kind of like the same thing. He's just like a couple inches taller. Like,
taller and different hair.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying about like Daniel Tice for Mo Wagner. I was like, is this just a net zero? Like, for both teams, like, if no one heard about that trade and just watched the game, they'd probably be like, oh, Daniel Tice looks kind of weird. But
when did we get Mo Wagner? When did that happen? Why doesn't this German guy have a bunch of tattoos? What happened to the other German guy that had a bunch of tattoos?
He just changed his name.
I don't know. We're coming up on time. Do you want to talk Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Or should we leave
it's up to you guys. I've got all the time in the world for you. Whatever you guys want to do.
We can do another 15 minutes.
All right, let's do it.
Let's recap here. We went from Hitler to NBA trade deadline, brief intermission while I took my dog out to use the restroom, and now Justin, catch us up to speed. You've been following the story. I have too, kind of. It's outstanding. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch shrimp debacle from. Another great part of the story is that this whole time is Topanga Lawrence's husband in real life. Great twist.
Oh yeah. So Jensen Karp, who actually wrote a book that I'm in the middle of reading called Kanye West Owes Me $300 and Other Stories from a White Rapper Who Almost Made It Big, which is actually a pretty good book. He's very funny. So he found, I think he said it was from Costco, got one of those family-sized boxes of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And in it came sugar-coated shrimp heads or shrimp tails, whatever the hell they're called.
Yeah.
And along with some string and what looked like Cinnamon Toast Crunch squares with rat shit baked into them. And
real quick, I saw those pictures too. I think I've seen those. I always thought they were more like just burnt like Cinnamon Toast Crunch pieces. You mean the ones with like it was just a little black line in it pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen
So this is like an epidemic, huh?
I've seen them and I've eaten them. And I'm still here.
We've had enough of those.
Yeah.
I actually prefer just strictly though in my CTC. But
CTC
anyway.
With extra rat shit.
Yeah, no
kidding. So then he got into it with the people from General Mills on Twitter.
He went right to the top. And he got pissed that they started trying to, I didn't even know what the term gaslighting meant until I read these tweets. And I was like, okay, this makes sense to me now. Yeah. And talking about how, we reviewed these and it just looks like extra sugar clumps that solidified. And that's what those are. And he goes, well, by looking at them in my hand, I see their shrimp tails covered in sugar. So no, what are we talking about here? That's actually one of the best parts. Like General Mills thought like, all right, we handled this. We got back to him, explained the situation. We're good here. It's like, no, I know what shrimp tails look like, and I know what sugar clusters look like. Yeah. These are motherfucking shrimp tails in my Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah. Like it was very obvious. Like it wasn't one of those things that's like, well, I mean, like if the lighting's different, and maybe it was like these are shrimp tails covered in sugar. Like that's what they are. And then it like snowballed from there, and he's going to labs and getting the shit tested, and they're emailing back and forth, and the whole thing became this phenomenon over the last couple of days. And Soap, I know you said something about how it might be a hoax. I'm not as caught up on that as you are, so I need you to help me out here,
please.
Let me see if I can quickly find a link. So New York Post.
Did you see this in one of your QAnon Facebook groups about this?
There were rumblings that this may come out when Parler, when I was still on that.
Yeah.
So it says internet, and this is just me this is real-time sleuthing. Internet turns on Jensen Karp, manipulative, in quotes, shrimp tail cereal man. Let me see here. Karp is now being accused of lying, stealing a podcast concept, and shaming a former sex partner, among other allegations. Wait, what? Hold on.
Now
I'm not sure this is related to the...
He had sex with the shrimp tails?
That might have been the best thing he could have done here.
While you're looking at that, you know, separated from the scenario, cinnamon toast coated shrimp tails don't sound like the worst like little treat I could picture. That's a mashup I would be okay with.
Yeah. People were coming out.
I understand the confusion.
After this happened, people were coming out with like cinnamon toast crunch recipes for shrimp and shit on Twitter. I saw like this became like this was a phenomenon.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the internet.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't on Twitter as much as we are, you got to get on it. This is where you find
great
the best
little
stuff.
app. Yeah, free.
I can't find the stuff about the hoax.
I mean, I can see that. I can easily see that. You know, like this guy's getting more publicity now than he probably has in years. I can definitely see that argument.
Surprise. Now people are trying to cancel him.
For what?
I don't know. Like supposedly just being a bad guy, bad boyfriend, stealing like literary property. I'm not sure. But what I was going to say is, did you guys see all the coincidences that were in this story?
No.
About how
like the puns, like the fish name puns?
Kind of. So like he's married to Topanga, whose last name is Danielle Fischel. And then
his last name is Karp, right?
Yeah. His last name is Karp. They live on a street that has a fish name. And then I'm trying to think what the hell else there was. There's a bunch of weird shit. Like it's actually kind of like the Hotel Cecil thing. I don't know how far you are in that, but there's a lot of weird like so it's almost like too good to be true. Man. But why don't you guys filibuster for a minute while I look at this?
It's just like a weird, like say it is a hoax. I wonder how much thought went into it. That's why I just think this seems like just one of those things. Like Justin said, it just happened to blow out of proportion. You know, it could have been anyone. You find this thing in your cereal. If it was me, I'd probably just I'd be like, oh, that's weird. Maybe I would post a picture online. I don't think I would go at General Mills. I don't know.
It's something that happens often enough that it's not like this is completely out of the realm of possibility. Like you hear stories once every 4 or 5 months, like somebody ended up with like a mouse in their chicken nuggets or something.
Exactly.
Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility that some shrimp tails could ended up in this box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Yeah, I don't know how it happened.
That's a very good point.
Rhyme or reason, you know?
Yeah, I'm curious how it really. If it was legitimate, I'm curious how that came to be. Like, where is the Cinnamon Toast Crunch manufactured?
Yeah,
on a boat. Like, where is this fact? How do those two ever cross paths?
And it made sense when I was reading some stuff about it because there was like a couple other things in there, like a piece of string or whatever, and people were like, "Well, that's what like rats and mice do when they nest. They like just grab a bunch of items and fashion them together." So like it could have been in the sugar drum or whatever the little squares manufacturing machine or whatnot.
My only other thought was maybe like the guy's like eating shrimp at lunch and just like fumbles a couple tails into the mixture. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Did you guys see the part where like initially General Mills said there's no way that those are shrimp tails. Those are just solidified sugar. And then the guy was like, no, I'm looking at it with my own eyes. It's not.
Trust me.
So then General Mills came back and was like, all right, those might be shrimp tails, but there's no way that came from our like manufacturing, whatever. It's like, all right, well, now I don't know which side to believe.
That's a good thought too. Like I could do the same thing. I could pour out some Cinnamon Toast Crunch, mix in some random ass thing, and be like, hey, I found this in my Cinnamon Toast Crunch. very good point. There's really no way to prove that. So to that point, I think that's fair. Like General Mills pushing back, like, this sounds kind of fishy. This sounds kind of phony. Like I don't think that's what happened. So that's fair too. I mean, they have a reputation on the line. And this is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. This isn't like, hey, I found some shrimp tails in my lesser brand cereal, my Market Basket brand, like whatever. Cinnamon Toast Crunch has a reputation to maintain. They're number one in some people's books. Like they are an upper tier cereal. This is bad press. Like if it starts circulating that, hey, like there's shrimp tails in your Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I don't blame them for pushing back a little bit. You kind of have to.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I mean,
I don't know. I think we haven't seen the end of this one for sure.
So here's what I'm seeing. Basically, it came to light that he used to be like an aspiring rapper, in addition to being
Jewish
a podcast. Wait.
I did see he has a podcast. I did see he has a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, like people have a problem with some of the lyrics from his music, but the bigger thing is that some of his ex-girlfriends came out and said that he's just what you may not know about the man behind the viral post is that he's a manipulative, gaslighting, narcissistic ex-boyfriend who once told me he was surprised I hadn't killed myself because my life was so worthless. Again, these are allegations. What else here? The biggest thing they say is that Topanga did some sort of like sponsorship with Cinnamon Toast Crunch last year. Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored Coffee Mate. And they're thinking that maybe these guys, number one, they get enough like probably free cereal that maybe they have a higher chance of encountering this, or number two, more likely, is that they were hoping to get something more out of the arrangement that they didn't get financially. And so this is their way of like smearing the company name. So really weird
This is an interesting story.
Yeah.
I just had a thought too.
Go ahead.
Is there a way that maybe General Mills is in on this?
I think that's what Soapy's alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the hoax part of it too. That's why, dude, it's like Soapy and I talk about this all the time. How common these things are, like I genuinely don't know like what's real and what's not anymore. Like some of these like crazy like barstool feuds and like stuff online, I'm pretty sure they're all like bigger, like they're all like mastermind plan things because everybody gets press from it, no matter which side you're on. Like I said, no one's really heard of this guy until now. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is I don't think anyone's boycotting Cinnamon Toast Crunch. If anything, they're just talking about it now. Now it's like it's cool to go buy Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Probably, I bet I would guarantee their sales have increed since the story came out.
People trying to find shrimp tails in their
I'd
cereal.
be afraid.
Yeah, Topanga. Nah, I wouldn't because I don't know. Topanga's back in the news. Whatever the hell her real name is. Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting, but it is interesting too that you mentioned Topanga had. You said she did sponsorships with them like a year ago.
So she did work with a Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored Coffee Mate, like coffee creamer.
Sure, that sounds good. This kind of has vibes of, I think we talked about this person earlier, when there was like some Goya product placement that they did with like some of his daughters and wife and stuff, where I think everything now is like, I don't know. I think there's mutual interest when these viral stories go viral because they become relevant again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Makes sense. I buy it.
It's just, I don't know.
If I had a chance to be in his shoes, like I would ride this as far as I could take it for sure.
Oh,
as
100%.
As the
we're talking about it right now. Everyone's talking about it. I don't remember the last time I talked about shrimp, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Topanga's husband all in the same breath.
Yeah.
It's been at least weeks, since that happened. Like, I don't know when, I don't recall. Like, it's not now the whole country's talking about it.
This is pretty funny. I didn't, maybe you guys mentioned this, but he took a picture of the cereal strapped to the seatbelt and was like, we're taking it to a lab.
See, now it's a thing. And now it's a story people are following. So yes, this is all bullshit.
Yeah, there's something like you said earlier, fishy on one or both sides of the story. I just don't know where.
It was planted by Big Cereal.
Big Cereal. You can't trust them. Big Fish or Big Cereal.
Yeah.
I tend to lean towards Big Cereal over Big Fish. But anyway, let's wrap up here. So
yeah,
good stuff tonight, Justin. Thanks for hopping on and catching us up to speed with the real news story that's going around today or the last few days. I'm curious to see where it goes.
Me too.
We should try and get either that guy or a fish on the show to talk about it.
We could do both. Let's not aim so low. We can do both.
All right. Okay. That's the beauty of technology. But anyway, we'll sign off here. And unless you guys have any final thoughts, anything you wanted to talk about.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. A lot of fun.
Of course.
Mutual.
All right. Later.
Yeah.